Welcome to another episode of Accurate Sports, a father-son podcast from fans to fans on NCAA D1 men's college basketball and fatherhood and sonship. I'm your host, Curtis T. Acker, here with my color commentator and father, Mark Acker. Before we get started, you can follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok, along with subscribing on YouTube under the handle Accurate B-Ball. That's ACKERATBBALL. If you have any stories you'd like us to cover, comments on what you'd like to see, or anything else, please email us at accurateball@gmail.com. That's ACKERATBBALL@gmail.com. So, we got a new format for you this week. What we're going to do is we're going to give you one major game recap and then a couple small game recaps, one major game preview and a couple small game previews, and then we're going to finish it up with our usual staple, Acorn's Attic. So, Dad, let's get right into it. It was a big game for these two teams. It was the Champions Classic, Duke versus Michigan State. This was the game that we chose to watch. This was the game that we thought would be interesting. Kansas and Kentucky also ended up being interesting as well, but this is the game that we're going to break down for you. Dad, what did you see in the first half from Duke and Michigan State?
Yeah, and actually, before we get into that, I actually wanted to just add to the viewers. We watched it together, even though we're remote. We synced up our screens and did a live feed with each other, and it was fun just to banter back and forth during the game. So it made it an extra special experience for me, for sure.
Yeah, if that's something that you want to see too, definitely let us know if you would like to see our live reactions to the games that we're currently watching.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so let's get into the game. Definitely, obviously a big game for both. They both got off to a little bit of a shaky start in the season. Duke started off the game 8 turnovers in the first 10 minutes. Were really kind of sloppy with the ball and really couldn't get any consistent offense going. And on the other side of the ball, at the Michigan State offensive end, they were really cold shooting to start, similar to the way they had started the season in the previous games. They were actually 4 out of 18 in the first 10 minutes. And we caught even that Duke looked like they were deliberately double teaming the ball as they drove to a wing, almost daring Michigan State to circle the ball around, find the extra man, and shoot a 3 and miss. So it was an interesting tactic and back and forth, kind of a slugfest a bit, as they were working their way through the beginnings of the game and trying to feel out how the game was gonna play.
Yeah, for real.
So did you?
And I think too, like I know Duke was turning the ball over a lot, but so was Michigan State. By the end of the first half, Duke had 10 turnovers and Michigan State had 9. So it wasn't like it was, just Duke making a mistake and turning the ball over. It was very much a back and forth mistakes all around. And you also got guys that were, as you mentioned, not hitting threes. People were taking fouls. Malik Hall had 2 fouls already with 5:31 left in the first. And it was just a very sloppy first half, if you want to call it. Both teams looked like they were trying to feel each other out and play too aggressively rather than just playing basketball.
Exactly, and kind of the flow wasn't there, and all the way up to halftime, Duke was winning 31-20 at halftime.
Yeah.
Duke had taken 14 free throws, made 11. Mark Mitchell was 7 out of 7 out of that group, which was amazing as we were watching his form. We're going,
he has well, it's maybe not form itself. Well, it is a little bit his form. His elbow's a little quirky with it, but also just he throws a laser at the basket. It's
right, exactly.
But they went in every single time. You got
repeatable.
It's quite a sight.
Right, and that's, as a coach, you think about, just a real quick note on that, as a coach, everybody shoots a different style based on their physical makeup, their mental makeup, and you go look at it, the eye test is like, we need to change some things, but obviously you can't argue with 7 for 7. But yeah, anyway, back to the game though, Duke had 14 free throws taken in the first half, Michigan State only had 2, so not only was it and again, similar to what Michigan State had been running in the first couple games of the season, in terms of their style of offense, it kind of showed in the first half too. Not attacking, only 2 free throws taken. It kind of tells you they were just kind of shooting, trying to still force that 3-pointer, see if they can get that going. They did take 11 more shots than Duke in the first half, and had several more rebounds.
Take any of those free throws that they got either.
Right. Exactly. That's right.
Yeah, the even though the score was an 11-point difference, the game itself didn't really reflect that. Michigan State was still, or Duke, I felt like was keeping Michigan State in the game in the first half.
Right.
And there were some guys that were competing, like Carson Cooper. He had 3 offensive rebounds really early on in the game.
Yep.
And he was competing hard throughout.
Yep, he really kept him in it a bit.
Game. He's been even though Michigan State has been lackluster this year, he has been incredibly impressive to me so far. I think he's going to be the starting center before too long, which he doesn't bring much when it comes to the scoring aspect, but as far as just doing everything right, like the little things right, playing good interior defense, getting offensive rebounds. He made some plays in the second half too, which we're about to talk about. But that's the type of guy that I think you need when your team is dysfunctional like this, to be an anchor for you guys. But let's move to the second half.
I was going to say, just down to add, he was that glue guy. He was bringing in the little things, that, like you said, tipping a ball, keeping it alive, knocking the ball off of an other opponent or something like that, scrambling, getting on the floor kind of guy. He was bringing that energy for sure.
For real. And so now we'll move into the second half where Carson Cooper, as I said, made a little bit more plays. We'll get into that in a second. But what did you see the difference from the first half to the second half? What was the biggest difference that you saw?
Well, early on in the second half, we see Michigan State change their tactic on the offensive end. They started attacking defensive rebounds. They were transitioning. They were trying to push the ball down the floor and getting Duke to foul. Definitely went away from the 3-point line, just trying to settle for those 3-pointers. They only took 2 in the first 10 minutes of the second half, so the first half of the second half. They only took 2, made them both, and actually got the score down to 4, and then another run a little later got them down to 3. So that tactic definitely, changed. Took some time for Duke to adjust to in the early parts of the second half there.
Yeah, and I thought even though Duke let them come back a little bit, they cleaned up their game. Duke's first turnover in the second was 6 minutes in versus having 10 in the first half. So
exactly,
they really cleaned up as far as the control of ball in the second. And there were a lot of, once again, the fouls continued throughout this game. Mark Mitchell had 3 at 17:39 left in the second. PJ Hall had 4 already at 12:38 while they were down 46-35. And so we got to see some guys that we maybe wouldn't normally see in these big chunks of minutes play, like Carson Cooper. And Carson Cooper absolutely smashed it. And I think Caleb Foster, towards the end of the game, smashed it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, at this point of the game, about 10 minutes left, it was kind of which team was going to really carry it the rest of the way, and even down to the 4-minute point. Yeah. It was. I think I even made the comment. I think this is the critical point of the game here, which often is on a close game. But it was really hard to tell. My thinking which team was going to step up and finish it out. Down that stretch there. There's, like you said, Duke had cleaned up their early turnovers a ton, and really that helped to stem the tide of what Michigan State was changing their tactic.
Yeah. I think the deciding moment in this one, I think you'll agree with this, Pat, was when Caleb Foster made those 2 corner threes. 2 minutes left to put Duke up. That was the deciding factor, and I think that happened because Michigan State got so interior defense focused. Like they were leaving Foster wide open in the corner. They did it twice in a row. The first time, that happens sometimes, you have a defensive lapse, but the second time you can't let that happen. You already saw that he was able to make it, and then it was back to back play.
Right.
You just go down and you let the same thing happen again. So I think Michigan State's going to have to work on their defensive assignments going forward, as far as just making sure that you have your assignment, trusting your other defenders to help in or be able to help themselves, not need the help defense. So that way they don't have to lean off guys like Caleb Foster who end up being in the right place at the right time and sealing the game for your team.
Well, it helps. They don't always have to face Kyle Filipowski in every game either. He was dominant. I was really impressed with Filipowski's game. Not only just scoring, but just both ends of the court. He commands attention from the opponent, either like you said, double teaming or so much attention on him. One of those Foster 3-pointers was off of a timeout inbounds play, sideline inbounds play too. So here, what did they draw up for a play? Right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or it just could be Izzo though too, right? Obviously a phenomenal coach, great history and everything else. What's his record against Duke over the years? Impressive.
Against Duke? Well, over the years, Duke is 15-4 against Michigan State. They're 4-1 at the Champions Classic after this game, and 15-4 overall against Michigan.
Against Izzo specifically.
Right, Izzo might not just be able to. He might not have it figured out against Duke, unfortunately, and it makes me wonder. I mean, this is early speculation on it, but is Izzo the new Jim Boeheim? That's the question. Had a style, bold statement, but it seemed like the past few years Michigan State hasn't been Michigan State that used to exist in the past. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe that type of style has been figured out now and
right.
is not going to work anymore. So Izzo's going to have to develop a next level, a new style to play, if Michigan State wants to find the success that they used to have in the past.
Right, and it's funny, where sport meets life a little bit too. For me, that's one of the things that I've always tried to follow is that adaptability and making adjustments in your life and being progressive and always reviewing what you're good at. Stay on top of that in your life, so you don't want to get stale. Right? I mean, not that he's stale. I think you don't last this long if you're not stale. But right, absolutely.
Yes. Quick minor appearance from Chopper. This is my dog. He likes to play, as you can see. He's only a year and a half old, and he's getting fixed on Tuesday. So he's enjoying all the energy that he can right now. And Chopper will likely be a continued appearance on Accurate Sports here.
I hope so.
Yes, of course. Maybe. All right, let's continue on into what's next for Duke and Michigan State. So Duke, they got the Blue Devil Challenge coming up from November 14th to the 24th. They'll play against Bucknell, who's in the Patriot, who's currently 1-3. It's on tonight at 6 on the ACC network. The best player to watch for Bucknell would probably be wing Jack Forrest. He's got 17 points per game, or nearly 17 points per game. He's shooting 46% for 3, and that's on 6.5 attempts per game. And then you got LaSalle, who's out of the A10, who's 3-0 right now on Tuesday, the 21st on ACC Network. And that's going to be a very interesting game for LaSalle to see if they can take down a big team. But the main player to watch for them is Jameer Brickus. He's also got 17 points per game and 2 steals. He's also shooting 50% from 3 right now. And I do want to throw this out there, Dad, and we talked about this. These are great numbers, shooting 46% from 3 and 50% from 3. But it's early in the season, so it's not like these numbers are going to stay consistent, or they're not going to stay that high this entire time. But they're playing really, really good basketball right now, so you need to watch out for these guys. And then for Michigan State, they're going to be playing against Butler, who's 3-0 out of the Big East tonight at 6:30 on FS1. They're much more of an all-around team. They got 3 players with 13 points per game. Those players are Posh Alexander, DJ Davis, and Pierre Brooks. They'll also play against Alcorn State out of the SWAC, who's currently 1-2. That's going to happen in the Acker Classic on Sunday, the 19th, on Big Ten Network. Then they'll also play in the Acker Classic is playing against number 2, the team that actually beat Duke, Arizona, currently 3-0 out of the Pac-12. They're going to play them next Thursday, the 23rd on Fox. And Arizona was actually CBS Sports' top-ranked power team. They're number 2 overall in the AP power rankings. And they got 6 players on the team with at least 10 points per game. That's Keyshawn Johnson, Kylan Boswell, Pella Larson, Umar Ballo, Caleb Love, and Matthias Prius. He is just a very deep team. It's not like they're not all skilled too. A bunch of these guys could probably have 15, 20 points a night instead of just averaging 13 or at least 10 per game. But that's a team to watch out for. But let's get into the other games that happened that were maybe upsets. As we saw Michigan State get upset in week 1 by JMU, and that got JMU into the top 25 for the first time ever in their program history. Now let's talk about what happened with other upsets. So we got University of Penn beating number 21 Villanova 76-72 this past Monday. Dad, what happened in this game?
Well, I mean, an upset, right? Exactly. Yeah, some highlights from the game. Villanova really was led by Justin Moore, grad student guard, 25 points, 7 rebounds. But their secondary scoring was kind of tapered off, so he was really their main man. Junior guard Jordan Longino, 14 points, playing 29 minutes off the bench. But Villanova is, again, another scenario where a big school only shot 34, like Michigan State, only shot 35% from the floor. And they even took 16 more shots than Penn did, than the Bakers did. But wow. Shooting 35%, what are you going to do there? Right. On the opposite side of the ball, Penn shot 51% on their shots, so certainly made the best of their time with the ball. And as one of those big stats that we look at that are secondary is Penn won the rebounding battle against Villanova, a 38-34 rebounding win there. Cool stat on that for Penn: 6 players had 5 or more rebounds. So it wasn't just one guy or 2 guys getting double figures. It was all over the court. That's a commitment to rebounding, and certainly was a big factor towards them taking this game.
Right. And even too, it's only a 4-point rebound difference, but it was also a 4-point game.
Right. Exactly.
So those rebounds those come in clutch. Those matter. As you said last week, it's about work. It's about who wants it more. Real note.
Exactly.
At the end of this game, it was a Big 5 game, the Philly D1 area, which now has 6 teams, with Drexel being a new member. So they're technically the Big 6, but they're still called the Big 5. In December 2nd, the showdown continues, but for right now, those Big 5 games are done and over with, at least for Villanova and for Penn.
Right.
Let's move into Irvine at number 16 USC, who ended up being beat 70-60. And as you found out, USC was a 12-point favorite in this, so almost the exact opposite of what happened. But a couple players were out for USC, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and neither of us even watched the game and saw this in the next morning and kind of caught up on it then. Yeah, Boogie Ellis, Kobe Johnson, both were injured, so didn't suit up for USC. So I mean, obviously that's a couple big losses there, but I think you mentioned it. Kind of the impact of that. It's 2 players out of all team. How did USC? But yes, USC still lost. I mean, that tells me
it shows depth concern to me.
Right,
is what it shows. And even with Isaiah Collier, scoring production is off the charts. Right. But 7 turnovers, and that's a freshman guard. That's a freshman guard learning things, making mistakes, probably in a situation that we never expected to be. Like, I'm sure going into that game, they were like, "Oh, we're playing UC Irvine tonight. We got this."
Right.
But UC Irvine came to play. 3 guys came to play specifically. Who were those players at?
Right. Yeah. Senior guard Justin Hahn, 25 points. Junior center Bent Luchin from Germany had chipped in with 19, and then the do-it-all guy, Devin Tillis, junior forward, 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists along the way. Cool stat for Irvine, 7 turnovers for the game. That's it.
So Irvine as a whole and Collier were tied for turnovers in that.
Exactly, right. Yep. So I think tail of the tape there spells it out pretty well. And one other fast fact about this game, UC Irvine, that's their second win in the last 3 years against a top 25 ranked team on the road. So they got something going on there. They defeated Oregon.
And now they're 3-8 overall against USC.
Right, exactly. So they know what they're doing out there. It's a team to watch for.
Right now, yeah, for sure. Right now. Now Weber State upsets St. Mary's as well. Or I'm sorry, not Weber. Weber State. Weber State upset St. Mary's. Dylan Jones was the story of this game. He had a career high in points. I watched this game. It was crazy. I was texting you nonstop about it. I was trying to get you to turn it on too. This game was wild, especially because Weber State was out of it for the longest time. But Dylan Jones is a career high in points, double-double, 29-point, 10-rebound game. Played all 40 minutes of the game.
Right. Yeah, he was unstoppable. When he drives, he's strong. Aside from good patience and using his variation of speed to create space for himself, he's just strong. So yeah, great game. I understand there was scouts, tons of NBA scouts there too. So maybe we talk a little bit about that more about where we might line up down the road here. But yeah, no, he took off, and I thought for Weber State in the second half, Blaze Freet was a huge secondary scorer for them. Chipped in with 9 points, 3 assists, 4 steals, mostly in the second half, and it really helped fuel a little, just a give and take to take a little pressure off of Jones. And propel them ahead there.
Well, yeah, they needed it at the end of the game there too, especially when the guy's playing 40 minutes a night. But the big reason why Weber State ended up pulling off this win was that they went on an 18-2 run that ended with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left.
Right. Yeah. St. Mary's just went absolute cold there for sure.
They completely disappeared, and I don't think that was only St. Mary's playing bad too. I thought Weber State's almost trap defense that they were playing.
Right.
Because they would have 2 guys shelter the ball handler, but the way that they recovered to make it back to the guy that they left to go double guard was absolutely, like, they hustled so hard on the defensive end. And I think that is what threw St. Mary's into that slump where Weber State ended up getting that 18-2 run. It was really
exactly. And illustrate your point, Aiden Mahaney, he's for St. Mary's, he had 8 points in the early part of the game, finished with 11. So I think they really did a good job of shutting him down, specifically into your point about their defensive strategy of kind of, I think it seems like St. Mary's offense really rolls through Mahaney, and that tactic definitely countered very well.
Yeah, for real. And then let's talk a little bit more about Jones. So with Jones, last year he went to the G League Combine. He got an invite to the NBA Combine from it. Apparently, there was thinking that he might go somewhere in the 40s in the NBA draft last year, and he decided he wanted to stay for another year at Weber State. And I think this game definitely drove up his draft stock. He might be a first-round pick now. Not an early first-round pick, but kind of like a Jaime Jaquez type of thing. A guy that you're not sure what, he seems like we know he's a good basketball player, but what is his real ceiling really? And that makes people question, should we take him in the first? Should we take him in the second? I think after watching this game, and I'm going to watch Jones a lot more intently, but you got to take a late first shot on him, and just because you're getting a solid guy, and usually in the late first, those are either teams that already drafted earlier in the draft and now have a second pick due to a trade, or they're teams that were just in the playoffs and are close but not quite there.
Exactly. Yep. That's right. Yeah, role player to kind of fill a specific niche.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? He can definitely be that. I mean, who knows what he can be? Obviously, the NBA is a huge leap up, but he showed a lot for sure.
Right, and he's listed at 6'6". I don't know if he's actually the announcers of the game were saying that maybe he looks more like he's like 6'4", but that he can play the 1 through 3 for sure in the NBA.
Right. I remember you were really excited when you got to be listed as 6 foot as a hockey goalie, right?
Yeah, that was fun. Hey, and that one's not fabricated. That one's actually true.
That was true.
That
Right,
one's actually
exactly.
true. I'm like what is it, 3/4? I'm like 6 foot and 3/4 or something like that.
5'11", 3/4. Yep, rounded up.
No, don't get it.
Or 6 foot 3/4. Oh, it's 6 foot 3/4. Okay.
Yeah, it's not 5'11".
No, I meant at the time. I got you.
Maybe at the time it probably was, but
But no, you're over that.
I am indeed over 6 foot. Thanks.
You got me now, exactly.
Yes, I am. I'm a little bit above you, and you claim to be 6 foot as well. So
I am. Anyway.
All right, good. All right, let's go to the game previews now. So next week, this upcoming week at the Maui Gym Maui Invitational, Purdue is playing against Gonzaga. That's number 2 seed versus number 11. I mean, we'll see what, if anything, changes on Sunday, because the AP rankings are coming out on Sunday. But for right now, it's number 2 versus number 11. And real quick, before we get into this, I just want to talk about with what's going on in Maui right now, or what has happened in Maui with the wildfires, and because the tournament's not being actually played in Maui, it's being played mostly in Honolulu, and due to the fact that they can't, because the place Maui is destroyed right now. So just quick comment, if you are financially able to, give to those in need, send monies to those who are affected by Maui. I know not everyone can, and even if you can, just say a prayer. Say a prayer for them. But now let's get back into some basketball about it. So this game is going to be Monday, November 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN2. Let's talk about the teams where they're at right now in their current standing in the NCAA men's basketball 23-24 season. Purdue's 3-0, beating Xavier this last Monday, 83-71. And then Gonzaga's 2-0. They beat Yale for their home opener. That was 86-71. And then their last game that they played was against Eastern Oregon, which is not a D1 team, and they beat them 123-57, which is just a slaughter. But the Maui history. So this is going to be Gonzaga's 6th appearance. They first appeared in 2002. They were the runner-up in 2005. They lost to UConn that year. Won their first finals in 2009 over Cincinnati. Then they were in the tournament again in 2013, along with 2018, where they got their second first-place finish, beating Duke. And then you have Purdue on the other side of things, who has not won it yet. This will be their 4th appearance. Their first appearance was in 1999, and they actually made it to the championship that year, but they lost to North Carolina. Then since they have been at 2006 and 2014. So Purdue, being the second-ranked team, they might be lined up to win their first ever Maui. However, they will have to watch out for number 1 seed Kansas. Although, as you mentioned, I was gonna say, you want to talk about what you saw or heard about, or your assumptions after Kentucky versus Kansas, because Zach Edey's a big physical guy, as we'll get into here in a second, and so is Kentucky. Kentucky's a very big physical team. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was just gonna say in general, before that's the plug to all the tournaments coming up. There's fans out there, basketball fans. As you probably know, there's a load of tournaments. We were going through trying to decide which tournaments to talk about or which games to talk about, and honestly, it was overwhelming just looking at all the different tournaments across the country. So if you're a top 25 fan, if you're a mid-major fan, or if you're a small conference fan, there's action out there for everybody. So it was fun to look at, but obviously very overwhelming to think about how do we break that down and share kind of our thoughts with it. So, but so for Kansas, and what Purdue might face there from them, or what Kansas might face from Purdue. Kansas lost to Kentucky this week, and
No, they didn't.
it was. Go ahead.
No, they didn't. They ended up
Kansas beat Kentucky. You're right. No, you're right. I'm sorry. Yep. Kansas beat Kentucky, but Kentucky gave them fits. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Got the score part.
What we were talking about yesterday was the physicality that Kentucky, even though Kansas won, the physicality that Kentucky gave them kind of.
Yes. It was more the pace. What I saw of the game was more the pace of the athleticism of Kentucky. They gave them fits. That's a different profile than what Edie brings for sure. That's gonna be a great matchup. By the way, I know we don't have this game. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dickinson, he just pounds it, and Edie does too. So that'll be a great battle.
I certainly hope they get to face each other in this tournament.
Right. Yeah. So no, a different profile. I think from what I saw out of Kansas, it's a different profile team, to produce a different profile team than what Kentucky brought as far as that. More of a speed, and they transitioned the ball like crazy. So.
Right. Well, Braden Smith plays like he's a gun-ho point guard, so I think Braden Smith might be able to bring that speed that you're talking about. I love the way he plays.
Exactly.
He's one of my favorite players to watch in all of college basketball. Well, let's talk about Purdue's head-to-head record versus Gonzaga of all time. They're 3-0 over Gonzaga. Last time they played was in the semifinals of the Bill Knight Legacy Tournament on November 25th last year. Purdue was ranked 24th at the time, and Gonzaga was ranked 6th at the time, but they ended up winning 84-66, and in that game, Zach Edey had 23 points. So it can be revenge for Gonzaga maybe this year. But let's talk about the players to watch. Talk a little bit about our unanimous preseason All-American, Zach Edey.
I think we all heard about him. Yeah. I mean, and he started off great so far this year. He's obviously, with all the attention he gets in the media, obviously, coming back to college here, he's still averaging a double-double this year, or already averaging a double-double, just like he had all of last season. So, he's just, I think I see him just continuing to elevate his game, and looking forward to see where he goes.
Yeah, for real. He's gonna. Obviously, everyone knows that he's the player to watch in this game. And then you got Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, who both had 15 points versus Gonzaga when they played against them last year. Braden Smith's currently averaging 8 assists and shooting 50% from 3, which, as we talked about earlier, doesn't mean that that's going to continue throughout the season. But what it does mean is that he's playing really good basketball right now. And then Fletcher Lawyer's having a little bit of a down start so far. He's only averaging 8.7 points at the moment, but he had 15 points versus Gonzaga last year, so I'm thinking they might be able to pull that same success again. And you also have a little bit of a different dynamic now with Lance Jones in the offense. But now let's talk about the Gonzaga players to watch. You got Graham Ike and Braden Huff. My question is who are they going to rely on to limit Edey's production? They're both 240 pounds. Huff's an inch taller than Ike, but neither one is known for blocks. They're more known for offense. Ike's got 18 points per game right now currently, and Braden Huff currently leads the team with 21 points per game off the bench, which obviously those numbers are a little skewed because they didn't play against the T1 team recently. But then you got
right. So are they going to be able to shut down Edey, or are they just going to try to outscore him? Right. That's kind of
I think it's going to
will be one of the fun things to watch on that, in that little battle there in the center position for sure.
Yeah, it's going to have to be an outscoring situation. They're not going to be able to play defense against Edey, I don't think. Or we're going to be surprised and we're going to learn one of them actually is a defender. But then you got
to test. This is the one.
That.
So if you want to test to see if you can play defense, he'd be the guy to play against.
Yes.
One of them, anyways.
But then you got Nolan Hickman, who had 15 points in last year's game. He's only one of two returning starters. The other returning starter is Anton Watson, who nearly has a double-double currently, 15.5 points per game and 9 rebounds per game. He was a solid role player last year, that glue guy that we're talking about. And I want to see if he develops into a higher option, because he really makes me feel like that's a type of guy that's going to be successful in the NBA, is an Anton Watson like archetype, when you're not going to be the star. If you're a borderline NBA player and you do all these little things right like Watson does, I think that's the guy to watch. And then another name to watch is Ryan Nembhard. So fun fact we found out about him, the only game that he's played against a Big Ten opponent was last year against Rutgers on December 4th. That was when he was with Creighton, who's in the Big East. He transferred over here to Gonzaga for this season. Creighton lost 63-53, and Ryan Nembhard only had 6 points. So, and then you had found a stat, Dad, about the game against Eastern Oregon. What was that?
He had 4 turnovers, right? They won by whatever it was, 60-some points, 70 points or whatever. Yeah, and he had 4 turnovers in like 21 minutes. So, we didn't watch the game, so didn't see break down what caused those, but just a stat that kind of jumped out as being interesting here.
That's not a game watcher for sure. You don't say, "Oh, Gonzaga versus Eastern Oregon. I gotta catch that game." Now let's talk about some other things that are coming up here. We got the Baja Mar Hoops Bahamas Championship. We got St. Mary's versus San Diego State, 2 teams that just recently fell out of the top 25. Dad, you were talking about Aiden Mahoney being St. Mary's kind of offensive catalyst. He's got 17 points per game currently. And then for San Diego State, I would watch Jaden Ledee for the Aztecs. He's got 25 points per game and 9 rebounds per game. So almost a double-double. And 25 points per game is absolutely absurd.
Right, and this game's Friday. 9:30 Eastern on ESPN Plus.
Yes. So a bit of a later game, but it's a Friday night game.
Speaking of later games, our other one.
Yes.
UCLA versus current number 5 Marquette, Monday at 11:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. This is part of the Maui Classic.
Yes.
So this one's going to be a fun one. Both teams are 3-0. I look at this game as a matchup of, among other things, obviously the players play, but the coaching matchup here will be fun to watch too. A little different dynamic from the 2 coaches. See how they play together.
Right, and Adem Bona is the player to watch for UCLA. 18 points per game and 9 rebounds and 2 blocks as well. So he's contributing on the defensive end and the offensive end, which is no surprise. But it's good to see that he's keeping up the same production that he had last year. And then you got Cam Jones for Marquette, who's currently averaging 19 points per game and 2 steals. And then another preseason All-American, Tyler Kolek, who's 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists.
Right, with an ankle injury, no less.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a very good matchup there. And I like the question that you asked me when we were talking about this. You're like, why is UCLA not ranked? Right. And I think they're 3-0 right now. They're proving they're a good team. This is going to be a big test to see if they can beat Marquette. I mean, obviously, no question. If you're beating the number 5 team, you're definitely worthy of the top 5. But the team's a young team. It's a young team, and I think that's why they're being underrated right now.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right.
And let's move into the last tournament game that we have. We got number 25, James Madison, versus the Southern Illinois Salukis on Tuesday, the 21st at 6 on CBS Sports Network. Both teams are 3-0, and both teams have 5 players averaging at least 10 points per game. So this is going to be a great smaller conference matchup. Obviously, James Madison's in the spotlight right now because they just upset Michigan State. That is a game that you do not want to miss.
Absolutely. Yep.
And let's move into Acorn's Attic after that. So, Dad, what's our topic for Acorn's Attic this week? This is what's going on in the head of Mark Acker, or what he thinks values that we should all be taking away and thinking, instead of just trying to do the impossible in our lives, but instead do the rational. So let's talk about it.
Wow, thanks for that intro. Yeah. I thought with the Thanksgiving coming up this week, obviously when you think about Thanksgiving, you think about a lot of football, that tradition, but also it's really centered around food. So I thought maybe we'd just chat briefly about food and the role in more of a personal relationship, your relationship to me and mine to you, as we were kids, a couple stories to tell, but just kind of how food is kind of always in your life. Obviously, it's a staple that we all eat, but not just take it for granted, right? For one thing, and Thanksgiving makes you think about that. Food is a blessing to have. We don't just go to the store and buy food. All the people that put it all together, buy food, grow food, feed animals, all that stuff. It's a massive endeavor.
Long process.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and a Bible verse that reflects what you just said very, very well is Acts 2:46, which is, and day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts. And the important thing here, I know you're talking about Thanksgiving in this current time, but it's day by day that we should be thinking like this. You know what I mean? Like, just every day, be grateful for what you have in front of you. And not everyone gets you've been provided with a meal. You need a meal in order to continue your body functioning. So just be grateful for that, and be grateful and that's not just grateful, obviously I'm talking out of scripture, so obviously be grateful to God, but as you mentioned, be grateful for the people that are growing the food, putting the food together, processing the food. If you didn't make it at home, be grateful for the person that made it for you at home. Just all these things will really, really, and they'll help. I think if you're grateful for it, you're going to enjoy the meal a lot better.
Exactly. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It's the daily thankfulness about what we're provided. Don't just think about it just on Thanksgiving, but really take the time to recognize that on a daily basis. Yeah, I wanted to tell just a quick story about a Thanksgiving story about preparing our meal one year. So I have a green egg smoker. And it takes several hours to smoke a turkey. So we decided, in any case, to do on I think it was the second year I had the green egg, and our party was not at our house. The green egg is a big, heavy ceramic smoker. I'm not going to bring that with me. So, anyways, we made the egg at our house. The plan was, and then we'll take the turkey over. Made the turkey at our house. Decided to transport the turkey over. It was 5 minutes away. And
Curtis is the way to go too. Smoked turkey.
Oh,
After we found out smoked turkey is the move. If you don't smoke your turkey for Thanksgiving, you're doing Thanksgiving wrong.
That's right. It wins every year, right? Anyway, so the short of the story is Curtis and I stayed behind and finished up the grilling of the smoking of the egg. I put a pan underneath the turkey to catch all the drippings, not cause a problem. I'm following the instructions step by step as I was reading them and whatnot. And so we finally open the egg and take the turkey out, and it's in the roasting pan gets stuck to the rack that the turkey's on. And I picked the turkey up, or I think we both had to pick the turkey up because it was heavy. Yeah. And unfortunately, we didn't catch that the pan that had all the drippings in it was attached. We tip it, and next thing we know, there's a flame that's 8 feet up in the air coming out because all the drippings hit the hot coals and caught it on fire. So
it turned into a bonfire real quick. And not only did the fire start, the turkey started falling. I had to catch that thing with my bare hands. You know how hot that turkey was?
I don't know how we did that. But Ed, to your point, and the egg's still there. It survived. I had to do a little cleanup afterwards. But that was the best turkey we've ever had. So
yes. For real.
Whatever happened.
I
good
heard
save.
That I ate.
Right, exactly. Good save. You had a short memory. You made a good save on that one, and we were all blessed because of it. Yes. So nice job. I wanted to share that story. To me, again, it's just one quick story, but thinking that food is a part of everyday life. Make it an experience. Make it something other than I just chow food down. I make food. I throw it in the microwave and I eat it and I'm done. Right. You can make so much more out of food. Like make great family experiences, great memories, great learning opportunities for parents, for kids, for others, and all that stuff. And it's bring people together. So I think that was about it.
Yeah, that's a really good Acorns Attic, and that will do it for here at Accurate Sports. Once again, please follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok, along with subscribing on YouTube under the handle Accurate B-Ball. That's ACKERATBBALL. If you have any stories you'd like us to cover, or just improvements that you'd like us to make, please email ackeratbball@gmail.com. That's ACKERATBBALL. For Curtis Acker, myself, and my father, Mark Acker, I'm signing off. Stay blessed.
Wait, before you go, just wanted to thank you once again for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Curtis Acker. You can follow me on Instagram under at Curtis_D_Acker. Also subscribe to my other YouTube channel, Curtis D. Acker, all together. Once again, wanted to thank you for watching, and God bless you.